Life is a battlefield, a constant war between good and evil, success and failure, action and neglect. The negative is normal, but it must be handled. Ignoring the weeds in your garden won't make them disappear. They'll take over unless you actively fight them. Many people choose ease over enterprise. But ease invites decline. If you rest too long, the jungle overtakes the village. Success requires action, consistent, disciplined effort. That's why the principle 6 days labor, 1 day rest exists. Work must outweigh rest, or you risk losing the war. Neglect is a silent destroyer. A week of ignoring your growth can cost you a year of repair. Indifference, the shrug of the shoulders, is the first step toward failure. Darkness moves in where light fails to shine. Evil thrives where good does nothing. Weeds flourish where effort is absent. But here's the good news. Negativity is no match for action. The moment you step up, take responsibility, and stay disciplined, you reclaim control. Success belongs to those who recognize the battle and fight to win. So, handle the negative, face the challenges, stay active. Because in the war of life, victory belongs to those who refuse to surrender. It's easy to complain. Life gives us plenty of reasons. Things don't go our way, unexpected challenges show up. People disappoint us. But here's the danger. The more you complain, the more problems you see. Complaining trains your mind to focus on what's wrong, and what you focus on, you attract more of. That's why some people stay stuck in negativity. They've built a habit of complaining, and their mind has learned to look for reasons to be unhappy. But there's a way to break that cycle, and it's one of the most powerful mindset shifts you can make. It's called gratitude. Because just as complaining feeds negativity, gratitude feeds positivity. When you focus on what's good, what's working, what's improving, you train your mind to see more opportunities, more blessings, and more reasons to keep moving forward. I remember a time when things weren't going well for me. I had every reason to complain. Bills were stacking up, success seemed far away, and I was frustrated. And for a while, I let that frustration take over. I'd wake up thinking about what was wrong. I'd go to bed thinking about what I didn't have. And the more I did that, the worse things felt. Until one day, someone gave me a simple challenge. Instead of focusing on what's missing, start focusing on what you have. That night, I sat down and wrote out a few things I was grateful for. It wasn't much, just small things. A roof over my head, a meal on the table, the opportunity to try again tomorrow. And something changed. My mood shifted. My energy lifted. The next day I did it again, and the next. And soon I realized that even though my problems hadn't disappeared overnight, my perspective had. I was no longer stuck in frustration. I was focused on possibilities. And that shift in thinking led to a shift in action. I had more motivation, more clarity, and in time, more success. That's the power of gratitude. It doesn't ignore problems, but it keeps you from being controlled by them. It reminds you that no matter how tough things get, there's always something to be thankful for. And when you focus on what's good, you put yourself in the right mindset to create more good. Now, this doesn't mean you ignore reality. If there's a problem, you solve it. But you don't let negativity take over your mind. You don't dwell on complaints. Instead, you replace them with gratitude. You shift your focus from what's wrong to what's possible. And that simple shift can change everything. So try this. The next time you catch yourself complaining, stop, take a deep breath, and instead of focusing on what's missing, find one thing to be grateful for, just one. Do that every day, because the more you practice gratitude, the more you rewire your mind for positivity. And when you think better, you live better. Every day, stand guard at the door of your mind. That's one of the greatest lessons I ever learned. See, your mind is like a factory. It's always producing, and the quality of that production depends entirely on what you allow in. You let in garbage, you get garbage results. You let in negativity, and before you know it, you've got fear, doubt, and frustration running the whole operation. But if you stand guard, if you take control, you can start filling that factory with ideas that build, inspire, and move you toward success. I remember when I was just starting out, struggling financially, uncertain about my future. I had plenty of ambition, but no direction. And then my mentor gave me a simple question that changed everything. He said, "What are you reading? What are you listening to? Who are you allowing to influence your thinking?" That hit me hard. I was filling my mind with the news, tragedies, scandals, disasters. I was surrounding myself with people who only talked about problems, never solutions. No wonder I was stuck. So I made a decision. I took charge of my mental diet. I stopped letting just anything into my mind. I started reading books that fed my potential. I surrounded myself with people who talked about opportunities instead of obstacles. And let me tell you, everything started to change. Not overnight, but little by little, I started thinking differently. And when you think differently, you act differently. Now, some people say, well, I don't have control over everything I hear. That's true, but you do have control over what you dwell on. You do have control over what you accept. You can't stop someone from offering you a bad idea, but you don't have to serve it for dinner. You've got to be selective. Just like you wouldn't eat food that's rotten, don't consume thoughts that poison your potential. Imagine if someone tried to dump a barrel of trash in your living room. You'd stop them right away, wouldn't you? You'd say, "Hey, get that out of here." But how many people allow toxic thoughts to be dumped into their minds every single day? Doubt, fear, negativity. If you don't guard against it, it piles up. And pretty soon, your mind is filled with limitations instead of possibilities. One of the best habits you can develop is to start your day with the right mental nutrition. Feed your mind with something positive. Read a few pages of a good book. Listen to something that challenges you to grow. Spend a few moments in gratitude, because if you don't take control of what enters your mind, someone else will. And that someone may not have your best interests in mind. Stand guard at the door of your mind. Don't let just anything in. Be selective, be intentional, and soon enough you'll see the results show up in your life. If you want to change your life, you have to change your thinking. It's as simple as that. Your life doesn't get better by chance, it gets better by change. And change starts in the mind. Most people spend their lives waiting for something external to change. Their circumstances, their luck, their opportunities. But the real transformation happens inside first. You fix your thinking and suddenly the world looks different. The opportunities were always there, but now you see them. The solutions were always within reach, but now you act on them. I remember a time in my life when I was struggling, feeling stuck, wondering why nothing seemed to be working. I blamed everything but myself, my circumstances, the economy, the people around me. Then someone challenged me with a question that turned my world upside down. What if the problem isn't out there? What if it's in here? That was a hard pill to swallow, but it was the truth. My thinking was keeping me stuck. My doubts, my fears, my excuses, they were all shaping my reality. If I wanted a different life, I had to start thinking differently. Most people don't realize how powerful their thoughts are. You don't just think thoughts. Your thoughts shape you. If you constantly think about problems, you attract more problems. If you focus on what you lack, you'll always feel like you don't have enough. But if you start thinking about possibilities, you start seeing them. If you start focusing on solutions, you find ways to move forward. It's not magic, it's mindset. It's a shift in perspective that changes everything. Take two people, give them the same circumstances. One succeeds, the other fails. Why? It's the way they think. One person sees obstacles and gives up. The other sees obstacles and finds a way through. One person says, this is too hard and stops. The other says, this is hard, but I'll figure it out and keeps going. Same situation, different thinking, completely different results. And here's the truth. No one can do this thinking for you. You have to decide. You have to take responsibility. You have to be the one who says, I refuse to stay stuck. I refuse to keep repeating the same patterns. I'm going to start thinking like the person I want to become. Because once you do that, your actions start to align with your new thinking. You start making different choices. You start surrounding yourself with different influences. You start taking steps that move you forward instead of holding you back. It's a simple concept, but it's not always easy. It takes effort, it takes discipline, but the good news is, once you start shifting your thinking, the results follow. It may not happen overnight, but over time you'll look back and realize that changing your thoughts was the first step to changing everything. So start today. Change your thinking and you'll change your life. The difference between those who succeed and those who struggle isn't that one group has fewer problems. No. Everyone faces challenges. The real difference is in how they respond. Some people get stuck focusing on the problem, talking about it, complaining about it, feeling overwhelmed by it. Others immediately shift their focus to solutions. And that shift makes all the difference. I used to spend too much time thinking about what was wrong, why things weren't working, why life was so difficult. And you know what I discovered? The more I focused on the problems, the bigger they seemed. The more I talked about them, the more powerless I felt. But then I learned a simple truth. Energy flows where attention goes. If I focused on problems, I got more problems. But when I shifted my focus to solutions, everything started to change. A person with a problem-focused mindset says, "This is too difficult. I don't have the right resources. I don't know what to do." They stop there. But someone with a solution-focused mindset asks, "What can I do with what I have? Who can help me? What's the first step I can take?" They keep moving forward. That's the difference. Take two people in the same situation. One loses their job and sits at home worrying, thinking about how unfair it is, how bad the economy is, how tough the job market is. The other loses their job and immediately asks, "What skills do I have? Who can I call? What opportunities can I create?" Same problem, different focus, completely different results. There was a time in my life when I was struggling financially, drowning in debt, feeling completely stuck. And I remember the day I decided to stop focusing on what I didn't have and start focusing on what I could do. Instead of complaining about my financial situation, I asked, "What skills do I have that I can use to earn more? What habits do I need to change to manage my money better?" That shift in focus led me to opportunities I had been blind to before. Because when you focus on solutions, you train your mind to look for answers instead of excuses. And here's what's interesting. Your mind will always find what it's looking for. If you look for reasons why something won't work, you'll find them. But if you look for ways to make it work, you'll find those too. It's all about where you put your focus. The truth is, life will always have challenges. But you get to decide whether you let those challenges defeat you or whether you rise above them. If you want to move forward, if you want to achieve your goals, then train yourself to focus on solutions. The moment you do, you'll start seeing opportunities you never noticed before. You'll start taking action instead of feeling stuck, and that's when real change begins. If someone followed you home today and walked into your house, one of the first things they should check is your bookshelf. Because what you read, what you feed your mind, is shaping your future more than you realize. The books you read determine your philosophy, and your philosophy determines your life. There was a time when I wasn't reading much. I worked hard, I struggled, but I wasn't growing. Then one day I got a wake-up call. I was asked, "What have you been reading the past 90 days?" And I didn't have an answer. That's when I realized I had been feeding my body 3 meals a day, but I had been starving my mind. I made a decision that day to start reading, to start learning, to start filling my mind with ideas that would shape my success, and that decision changed everything. See, every book you read is like a conversation with the author. If you want to learn how to build wealth, read books written by those who have done it. If you want to develop discipline, read books that teach you how. If you want to change your thinking, start by changing what you expose your mind to. Because here's what I learned. If you don't deliberately choose what you're learning, the world will choose for you. And most of what the world offers is not designed to help you succeed. I used to start my day reading the newspaper, filling my mind with everything that was going wrong in the world. I'd read about tragedies, crimes, and disasters, then wonder why I felt so negative and unmotivated. But when I started reading books on success, personal development, and mindset, my thinking changed. My attitude changed. My results changed. Because what you put in determines what comes out. Imagine two people. One reads books that teach them how to develop skills, grow their mindset, and build a better future. The other spends their time consuming negativity, gossip, bad news, distractions. Fast forward 5 years. The first person has grown, advanced, and created opportunities. The second person is still complaining about the same problems. Why? Because they never changed what they were feeding their mind. Your mind is like a garden. If you plant good seeds, books filled with wisdom, knowledge, and positive ideas, you'll grow a harvest of success. But if you neglect it, weeds will take over. The wrong influences, the wrong information, the wrong habits. It happens automatically. That's why you have to take control. If you want a better life, start by changing what you read. Read books that challenge you, that stretch your thinking, that teach you something valuable. Read every day, even if it's just 10 pages, because one idea from one book could be the turning point in your life. And if you haven't been reading, start today. Your future depends on it. Your environment shapes you more than you realize. The people you spend time with, the conversations you have, the influences you allow into your life. They are either lifting you up or pulling you down. And if you don't take control of those influences, they will take control of you. There was a time when I was struggling, working hard, but not making any real progress. And then I looked around at the people in my life. I realized that most of them weren't growing, weren't improving, weren't pushing themselves to be better. Instead, they spent their time complaining about their problems, blaming others for their situation, and making excuses for why they weren't succeeding. And because I was around them all the time, I started thinking the same way. That was my mistake. I didn't even realize how much they were influencing me until I made the decision to change. If you're around people who constantly talk about what's wrong, who always see the negative, who have no ambition, guess what? That thinking starts rubbing off on you. You may not notice it at first, but over time it affects your mindset, your decisions, your confidence. You start lowering your expectations. You start believing that success is out of reach. And before you know it, you're stuck in the same place they are. But here's the good news. Just as negative influences can hold you back, positive influences can lift you up. If you want to change your life, start by changing the voices you allow into your mind. Get around people who inspire you, who challenge you, who push you to grow. Find mentors, read books, listen to ideas that expand your thinking. Because when you surround yourself with the right influences, everything changes. I once heard a powerful idea. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Think about that. If you're around 5 people who are always complaining, you'll start complaining. If you're around 5 people who are lazy, you'll lower your standards. But if you're around 5 people who are driven, who are learning, who are taking action, you'll rise to their level. That's just how it works. So here's the question. Who do you need to spend less time with? Who in your life is holding you back? Maybe it's a friend who always has something negative to say. Maybe it's a coworker who never sees possibilities, only problems. Maybe it's even a family member who discourages your dreams. You don't have to be rude, but you do have to protect your mind. Limit your exposure to negativity and increase your exposure to people who bring out the best in you. And it's not just people, it's everything you allow into your life, the news you watch, the content you consume, the conversations you participate in. If it's negative, if it's draining, if it's not helping you grow, cut it out. Replace it with something better. Listen to ideas that uplift you. Read things that strengthen your mindset. Because the more you fill your life with positive influences, the more unstoppable you become. You can't afford to let negative influences keep you from your potential. Take control of your environment. Guard your mind. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to be better, because when you do, your future changes. The words you speak to yourself every day shape your life more than you realize. That little voice in your head, the one that's always running, what is it saying? Is it lifting you up or tearing you down? Because here's the truth. Whatever you tell yourself consistently, you start to believe. And what you believe determines the actions you take. Most people don't even recognize the power of their own self-talk. They go through life saying things like, I'm not good enough. I'll never succeed. Things never work out for me. And then they wonder why they struggle. They wonder why they stay stuck. But it's simple. Your mind is always listening. And if you feed it negativity, it will create a reality that matches. I remember a time when I was doubting myself, thinking, maybe I'm not capable of doing something great. And then I caught myself. I asked, where did that thought come from? Who told me that? The answer, no one. I had created that doubt in my own mind. And if I created it, I could change it. That's when I decided to take control of my self-talk. Instead of saying, I can't do this, I started saying, I will figure this out. Instead of thinking, I'm not good at this, I told myself, I can learn anything with time and effort. And you know what happened? My confidence grew, my actions changed, and my results followed. Because here's the secret. Your mind doesn't know the difference between a truth and a lie. It only believes what you consistently tell it. So if you say, I'm not smart enough, your mind will find ways to prove you right. But if you say, I am capable, I am learning, I am improving, your mind will work to make that true. That's the power of daily self-talk. Look at the most successful people in any field. Do you think they wake up saying, I'm not sure I can do this? No. They tell themselves, I will make this happen. They speak confidence into their own mind before the world even has a chance to do it for them. And because they believe in themselves, they act differently. They take risks, they push forward, and they create success. So what about you? What do you say to yourself every day? If your self-talk is negative, it's time to change it. Start paying attention, catch those negative thoughts, and then replace them with something better. Instead of I always fail, say, every failure is a lesson that makes me better. Instead of I'll never get ahead, say, I am working toward my success every day. It may feel strange at first, but keep at it, because over time, those new thoughts become your new reality. If you want to transform your life, start by transforming the way you talk to yourself. Speak confidence, speak strength, speak possibility, because the words you say to yourself today will shape the person you become tomorrow. The mind is like a muscle. It grows stronger with training. And just like physical exercise, the way you train your mind determines how well it serves you. If you don't train it, it will pick up whatever comes its way. Negative thoughts, doubts, fears. But if you train it deliberately, you can shape it to work for you, not against you. That's why developing the habit of positive thinking is one of the most powerful things you can do. Now let's be clear. Positive thinking isn't about ignoring reality. It's not about pretending everything is perfect when it's not. It's about choosing the right response to life's challenges. It's about building the mental strength to stay focused, to stay driven, and to see the opportunities hidden within every difficulty. Think about the difference between people who succeed and those who don't. It's not just their circumstances. It's not just their talent. It's their mindset. When faced with a setback, one person will say, this is the end. I knew things wouldn't work out. Another will say, this is tough, but I'll find a way. That's the difference. One is trained to see obstacles as permanent. The other is trained to see them as temporary. One gives up. The other keeps going. And the one who keeps going eventually wins. I remember a time when I wasn't winning. I was stuck in a cycle of negative thinking. Whenever something went wrong, my first thought was, here we go again. I expected failure. I expected disappointment. And because that's what I expected, that's what I got. But then I realized something. If I wanted different results, I had to change my thinking. So I started training my mind differently. Every time I caught a negative thought, I replaced it. Instead of saying, this won't work, I asked, how can I make it work? Instead of saying, I can't do this, I asked, what do I need to learn? At first, it wasn't easy. It felt unnatural, but the more I practiced, the stronger that new habit became. And soon I noticed a shift, not just in my thinking, but in my actions. I had more energy, more confidence. I started seeing possibilities where I used to see problems. And before long, my results started changing too. That's how you train your mind for positive thinking. You practice. You catch yourself when negative thoughts creep in. You replace them with better ones, and you do it over and over until it becomes second nature. Some people say, but I've always been negative. That's just the way I am. No, that's the way you've trained yourself to be. And anything that's trained can be retrained. You can take control of your thoughts. You can reshape your mindset. And when you do, you'll be amazed at how much changes in your life. So start today. Train your mind the same way you would train a muscle. Repetition, discipline, and practice. Because when you think better, you live better. Everything in life starts with the way you think. If you fill your mind with doubt, fear, and negativity, you'll live a life that reflects those thoughts. But if you train your mind to focus on solutions, opportunities, and possibilities, your life will transform in ways you never imagined. Now, the decision is yours. Will you continue to let negative thinking control you, or will you take charge and start training your mind for success? Remember, change doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen with consistent effort. Every day, stand guard at the door of your mind. Choose your thoughts carefully. Surround yourself with the right influences. Speak words that build you up instead of tearing you down. Starting today, make a commitment. No more dwelling on problems, no more excuses, no more letting negativity run your life. Instead, focus on growth. Focus on solutions. Focus on what's possible. Because when you change the way you think, you change the way you live. So go out there and take control. Train your mind. Elevate your thinking. And watch as your life rises to meet the level of your thoughts.